Hello, this is Donald Wade Davis with the COHT. We are here at Historic Harbor Village in Grove, Oklahoma. One of the things we wanted to do in this series of videos was to touch on some items that aren't normally found in social media. One of those topics that we wanted to touch upon was the role of women in living history and reenacting. And we have three members of the COHT that are going to visit with us over the course of this interview: Marilyn, Tammy, and Linda. I happen to be sitting here with Marilyn. Marilyn?
Hi.
How are you? And what we've done, Marilyn, is we've developed a series of 4 questions that we're going to work our way through to see what your experiences are in the living history world and in going, as my daughters used to say in the old days, back then.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. The first thing that we want to ask is, how long have you been involved in this hobby?
The first demonstration that I done was May of 1988 at Fort Osage in Sibley, Missouri.
And you said demonstration. Were you actually a costumed interpreter? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
The guild that had just recently been formed, a spinning and weaving guild known as the Osage Spinners, we got together and done that presentation. So we had individuals dyeing wool with natural dyes. We had some that was weaving. We had some that was doing cooking on the hearth and the bottom of the mercantile, or they called it the factory.
Factory, yes, at Fort Osage.
And myself and like 3 or 4 other ladies were spinning.
Okay, very good. So spinning was a hobby or a avocation that you did before you became involved as a presenter.
Right.
So it was a skill you brought with you into the hobby.
Right.
Okay, very good, very good. As you started this and went down the role giving a demonstration, what attracted you to this?
History.
Okay.
The backstory real quick is when I was in junior high, our history teacher took us to Pioneer Village in Minden, Nebraska. During that visit, there was a lady there doing a first-person demonstration, actual spinning wheel, first time I'd ever seen one used. And I asked her what she was spinning, and she said, collie dog hair. And I asked her why, and she said, well, the coyotes have come in and killed all my sheep, and I need new socks for the winter. And the seed was planted.
Yeah.
Little did I know that I was going to be told the day after I got married, because I go off to college and I come back and I marry a 3rd-generation sheep shearer.
Mm-hmm.
His conversation the very next day is, you're going to support the sheep industry.
Yeah.
Well, 45 years later, that poor man had no idea what hole he was jumping down into.
That's great. That's
So, for my first wedding anniversary, he bought me a spinning wheel.
Spinning wheel.
Uh-huh.
That's great. That's great. So you've been doing this over 30-some years.
Yes.
And what are you portraying now? I notice you're dressed appropriate to a period. Could you explain the time period you're portraying?
1840s, 1850s, and the reason for that is that's when a lot of my family immigrated from the foreign countries.
Okay.
And some of them settled first around the Great Lakes and then moved into the Kansas and Nebraska area when that was opened up, right around the time of the Civil War. And
1854 was the Kansas-Nebraska Act, yeah.
yeah.
So you've brought an element of family history to your interpretation.
Yeah.
Do you find that makes it easier to do what you do?
I think it's more fun
Mm-hmm.
because I am attempting to educate people to what my grandparents and great-grandparents would have gone through during their times of settling in the prairie. You know, they didn't have Walmart to run to. They didn't have 8-foot closets.
Yeah.
You know, a homestead cabin, when you first built whatever you were going to live in, was basically 12 foot by 12 foot.
Yeah.
Whether you were mom and dad and 1 child, or whether you was mom and dad and 12 kids.
Yeah.
So you had to survive.
Mm-hmm. It was a different level of privacy than what we're used to today.
Oh, very much.
Okay. If you had a bit of advice to offer someone who out there watching us might be interested in entering the hobby or coming to an event for the first time, given your 30 some years of experience, which is impressive because you're only what, 35, 36?
Oh, bless your heart.
Yes, what would that bit of advice be?
Don't feel like you have to jump in with both barrels at once. Do it slowly. Learn what is works for you. You know, I do the spinning interpretation, the farm wife. Somebody else may not want to. They might want to be a merchant. And if they do, what time period of a merchant do you want to be? You know, do you want to be a doctor of the 1850s?
Yes. And from your practical experience, looking back to your own family tree and genealogy might be helpful too.
Yes, because you'll find out that, you know, well, in my family history, um, we've got generation after generation that has been shepherds, farm workers, spinners, and weavers, you know, whereas somebody else may actually come down from royalty. The other side, on my husband's side of the family, he has a grandmother that was a lady in waiting to Queen Victoria.
Oh my goodness.
So, you know, there's all kinds of family history that you can bring in, and you can study that person out, the time period in which they lived, and interpretate their life or what you perceive their life to be.
Very good. Well, thank you, Marilyn.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
We'll see you on down the trail.
I will.
Hi, Tammy. How you
Hi.
doing?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad that you decided to come on camera with us, reach out to the billions of millions of people that we're reaching out to here at the COHT. And we have 4 basic questions that we're asking the women of the COHT. And the first one that we're asking is, how long have you been involved in living history reenacting?
I attended my first one as a Flatlander in 1989. 1990, I got started. And like most people, I started out Mountain Man. And then in 91 or 2, I went to Fort de Chartres and got bit by the French colonial bug.
It's been downhill ever since.
Yes.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Exactly. What was the attraction to this hobby for you?
I think the people, and it was just, one, I liked history, and even though growing up we didn't camp because we were too busy farming, I liked camping. I liked the idea of camping, but I enjoyed history. I loved the clothing, and it was, at that time I was a single female and I had children, and it was a fairly cheap way to go see things and not having to put a lot of money out at the beginning.
Right, so you probably sewed, correct?
Did some sewing, recruited my sister to do sewing, and then my sister did a little bit of sewing. I did a little bit of sewing. And
So you outfitted the family and drug them along.
I have one daughter who's grown now, and you could not get her in a tent or a lodge. Her idea of roughing it is a cabin that probably doesn't have air conditioning.
Yes, okay. Well, that's very good. And of course, that's 30 some years
Yes.
doing this. You're dressed, interestingly. What is your portrayal now, today?
Today it is a southeastern native. I would be, well, the Canadians would call me a métis. So I would be a half-breed. My father was a trader with one of the fur companies, and my mother was a Creed, and we started up. The family started in Canada, but then we migrated in the South as my husband traded, and we ended up in the Southeast.
Okay.
So anyway, and it depends on when I wake up in the morning, how I feel, how I'll be dressed.
Yes.
And that's one thing I like about this hobby. You know, most of the time, large majority of the time you'll see me dressed as native, but there'll be days that you'll see me as Irish or colonial French.
Hmm. Do you draw from any of your own heritage, or do you just pick things that interest you?
I kind of pick things that interest me,
Very good.
you know. Like, I enjoy cooking, so, I may be the lady of the house cooking. Most of the time, I'm the trader's wife or the settler's wife, and so you'll either see me native or you'll see me dressed as a colonial.
Very good. Very good. In the number of years you've been doing this, what would be a bit of advice that you would give to someone who is interested in the hobby, perhaps seen the videos or saw our presence on the internet, and is interested in coming out?
I think because you can put a lot of money into the hobby and you may change your mind, 2 or 3 times, and it can get expensive. So to me, I think I always tell everybody to get something basic. For a woman, get you a petticoat, get you a shift, get you a short gown, something very basic, and go out there and look around and see what everybody's doing. And if something catches your eye, talk to that person and learn a little bit more. Or if you have a certain time frame that you like, then research that time frame, see what it was like, what the clothing was, what activities there was for women, and go from there. So,
All right. Well, thank you very much.
thank you.
Pleasure. Hi, Linda. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. And you?
Thank you for participating in our COHT series of videos. I appreciate that very much. And so will all of our viewers. Both of them.
Both of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
How long have you been involved in the reenacting living history hobby?
I started in 1989, outfitted with a brand new tent to the first event I had ever been to. So kind of blind.
Uh-huh.
But made clothes for family, for me, did the best we could, had a wonderful time. It was Northeastern Primitive.
Northeastern Primitive. Where was that located?
Bennett's Meadow. It's either Mass or Connecticut, I don't, but East Coast.
East Coast? Okay. From the east. All right. What attracted you to this?
Probably a love of history, to be able to actually step into the books, the movies I'm drawn to.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big part of it. I walked by a pickup truck and had a powder horn on the front seat, and I went in and I was like, what's up with this? And brought me muzzle blasts, and there we go.
Mm-hmm. So the rest, as they say, is history.
Rest is history, good history.
I notice you're wearing quite a wonderful outfit today. Could you tell us what your current portrayal is today?
Well, today my petticoat is a little longer than usual because I do 1750 French Canadian, which is like mid-calf, scandalous to the missionaries.
Oh, yes.
But this one was long, but I was in the mood for the color, so
Yes.
there we have it.
And do you make these items?
I hand stitch all of my clothing. Just, it's relaxing, it's correct. I like it.
Yes. And what's it called?
That's a short gown.
Short gown? Okay. And is it wool?
This one is wool. My under petticoat is also wool. Always wear two.
And this is an apron or
This is another petticoat. It is linen, yes.
Okay. And then being French, you have a fourchard,
Yes.
the shawl.
Yes.
Is that linen or silk or?
I'm not sure what this one is. I think it's a cotton, but it's very fine. But I liked the color because it's woven with the two different colors, and bought it off of some man that was wearing it. And I'm like, I must have. And he's like, it smells like fried bacon. I'm like, I'll wash it. And $2 later, I own it.
Good, good, good. No, it's quite a wonderful outfit. We appreciate it. We appreciate it. If you were to give, you've been doing this for a couple of years now, if you were to give somebody coming into the hobby some advice, some of our viewers who might watch this video or someone who is interested on the internet, what would that bit of advice be?
Doing this can be expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I would suggest that you go with somebody that knows a bit about it, and say, I don't like that, I do like that. Sometimes in the end everything they like is brown, or it's blue, or it's a nationality, it's English, it's French, it's Scottish, whatever. So you find out where your heart lives by looking at people. Then you should go shopping with someone who knows, because one good thing is better than 5 not good things. So spend your money wisely, but first an inkling of what you're doing. For me, it's ancestry. This is my family. It's where my heart lives. Even if it wasn't my family, if it's where my heart lives, that's the look I want. That's what I would go for, and help somebody. If they wanted to do something I knew nothing about, I would find somebody that I knew could help them.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
We appreciate it.
Good job.
Thank you. So that wraps up our interview with these 3 wonderful ladies who have said they wanted to be on camera and share their stories. Our thanks go out to Marilyn, Tammy, and Linda for their words of advice and their words of wisdom. Again, the COHT is a family-friendly organization, and we encourage the participation not only of men and women, but also children. You can look us up on the internet at coht.org, or you can find us at an event somewhere near you. We'll be flying our yellow flags with the Tommy Trecker logo. Again, this is Donald Wade Davis. Thank you very much.